friends, Jewel back with another super cool astrology video. And I thought today we would focus on another synastry video and talk about when one person's sun is conjunct another person's Pluto. What happens when we have this going on between two romantic partners? So, the sun is our expression, our identity, our ego, our vitality. Has a lot to do with, our creativity. And Pluto is that 8th house energy within all of us, which is, sex, death, difficulties, breakdown, rebirth, crisis, ups and downs. All those things is that plutonic part of us, and really describes the things that we push down inside ourselves, or we don't accept, or we don't integrate into our personality. And so thereby they actually control us for the most part, and other people, because they become the landscape of our insecurities. So Pluto is that part of us that has been hurt or wounded and is very protective and difficult. So when these two come together in a conjunction, the Pluto person feels very much like a lot of parts of themselves that have remained hidden, or that have not been understood, or have not been given, any kind of, have never seen the light of day. The sun person shines their rays upon the things in the Pluto person that they typically would not share or would not show. So the Pluto person, that cold, difficult, insecure part of ourself can be drawn out, made to feel warm. The sun really illuminates and brings out also the plutonic qualities within the Pluto person. So we have two very different parts of each other meeting in a conjunction. So, the sun is that very conscious part of ourself. Pluto is that very unconscious part of ourself. And so it's this contact is kind of similar to having somebody's sun in your 8th or your 12th house, in that the sun person illuminates or sheds light on a lot of your hidden things, hidden difficulties, past traumas, things like that. So the Pluto person has more contact with these things through the interaction with the sun person. Now, very, very often, it is the way that they interact with each other that brings these things out. It's not like it comes from the outside of them. It's, just because they're interacting, it's not outside forces. It's because of how they relate to each other. So the Pluto person very much wants the attention of the sun person, because the sun person makes them feel somehow secure, warm, seen, where usually, these are the dark, cold parts of themselves. So they can feel very much like, like it's been winter, a long, cold winter. And then, you fly in an airplane to go somewhere really warm, and you're used to it being, 0 degrees because you live in the Midwest, but, maybe you fly to the Caribbean and you get off the plane, it's 90, and it's just this incredible feeling of unexpected warmth and illumination, and the sun is bright, and you feel happy because the environment that you're in is so inviting. That's very much the feeling that the Pluto person gets from the sun. So the sun person is seen as very physically attractive by the Pluto person, because the Pluto person typically very much likes the way that the sun presents themselves, the way that they have established their identity. So the Pluto person or the Sun person is held in very high physical regard by the Pluto person. And this is one where there's typically quite a bit of sexual attraction on both sides. So they very much feel like more because they have gained each other's attention. And problems between these two really surface when that attention is put elsewhere or is somehow mitigated. So, very, very often, these two will avoid each other, at least initially. A lot of times, they'll avoid each other permanently. But this does show up in relationships that get off the ground. So this is one where the Sun person has a creeping sense that the Pluto person is somehow going to control their identity. They see them as a threat to their ego or their identity because they actually are, because they're going to change that over time. And prolonged contact between them very much causes this type of breakdown in the Sun person as a result of how the Pluto person has behaved towards the Sun person, how they've interacted with each other. Because the Pluto person is made to be more conscious, the Sun person is made to be more, I guess, aware of their own characteristics. So it's very natural. You know, the ego, the human ego really does think that it is us. And so when it is threatened, like when there is some kind of heavy plutonic tie between someone's Pluto and our Sun, there is very much often a feeling in the Sun person of wanting to get away because they know what is coming. Pluto is really about death and rebirth. So the Sun person has a real chance of some kind of psychological or spiritual breakdown that leads to a breakthrough because of their interaction with the Pluto person. The Pluto person really works their magic on the Sun in such a way where the Sun person really achieves their maximum potential when it comes to their identity expression and when it comes to their creativity. So through struggle and hardship with each other and intensity, the Sun person really becomes more in a sense of their real, I don't know, you can't say real self because the ego is never real. It's that part of us that will do anything to stay alive and wants to convince us that that is us. So the Sun person comes into a balance when it comes to their identity and their ego, because there is quite a bit of a breakdown of it due to the Pluto person. So I guess it's a more proper expression of their ego and identity, is how I would say it ends up as for the Sun person. And the Pluto person will not understand this or really be able to really see why their actions towards the Sun person have resulted in this, loss of identity or some type of psychological breakdown. The Pluto person is operating from a very unconscious part of themselves. And the Sun does illuminate that for them. But the thing is Pluto works slowly. It's a slow mover in the solar system. And so the Sun person typically, will go through their transformation faster and before the Pluto person. a lot of times the Pluto person doesn't ever really get it until after they have ended their interaction with the Sun. So it's very important to look in the natal chart of both people, see how one's identity, Sun, ego, is structured, and how much at risk they are for giving that up or for needing that to be restructured. And then you absolutely have to consider what kind of issues is the Pluto person working through themselves. Are they going to be extremely controlling, or, you know, do they have a lot to work out? And it will give you a real big clue as to how intense or potentially destructive to the Sun person, ultimately constructive, it is. So this is one that you can have in a permanent, lasting, long relationship. Typically we don't see that, but it can happen. And typically that is in relationships where the two people are pretty centered in themselves, and at least the Pluto person has dealt with a lot of their stuff, or doesn't have a lot of stuff to begin with. So you can handle this one if the Pluto person is healthier than your some other Plutos that are, you know, very difficultly aspected, or they're making very hard aspects to a lot of different planets or points. So you have to consider everything, because, you know, when you look online or when you read books, they give you an interpretation that is not, it's not fashioned to any one particular couple. It's very much a cookbook interpretation that's meant to cover that aspect in a larger explanatory way for, you know, millions of people. So that's why you need to visit professional astrologers who know what they're doing, because you get that personalized meaning of the aspect. So this is one where it's really important to consider the natal charts of the two to see what type of potential really exists here. And that's really important to do with all Pluto contacts, to really see where this is coming from. Because you can look in the two charts and you can see what is needing to be learned, or why have they drawn to each other in such a way. Because this is actually a difficult contact. So it is one that is intense. It is one that you're never going to forget. And there's a lot of passion. And it really provides, it is a soulmate aspect. Even though it is very difficult and oftentimes not lasting, it is a soulmate aspect, because this is one that will make you grow. It will make you become who you are. And that is what life is for. It is for growth and for learning about yourself. This will cause that to happen. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please subscribe to my channel if you have not done so. You can find me on the internet at truthandaspectastrology.com. Yes, I do private consultation all the time. I am mainly a relationship and intimacy astrologer, but I interpret all types of charts. You can find me on Facebook, where you should be following me, because I do the daily astro weather forecast, birthday descriptions, write all kinds of articles, and I specialize in asteroids as well, so I do lots of articles on asteroids over there also. And I will be back super soon with more super cool videos. Bye-bye.